If you want to attract more birds into your garden, then this is the video for you. I have 7 ways you can attract more birds into your garden. But first, let's just discuss, why would you attract more birds into your garden? Some people think they're messy. I think those people are crazy. Birds are fantastic. First of all, when they sing, they fill up your soul with joy. Second of all, they eat lots of your pests in your garden, such as your slugs and snails. But if you've ever watched your roses closely like I do, even the blue tits like the aphids on your rose buds. So this is why you need lots of birds in your garden. Okay, so how do we get those birds into our garden? Number 1, we offer a variety of foods. Birds don't just eat seeds and peanuts that you can buy from the garden centre or the supermarket. They need to forage for insects too, and they also eat berries, and of course they do eat seeds, but they tend to be seed specific depending on the breed of bird. So just buying general bird seed from the supermarket isn't necessarily going to work for all birds. If you are going to feed your birds with seeds and you're going to use a bird feeder, you need to place it somewhere where the bird isn't going to feel vulnerable. Don't place it in the middle of a lawn where the cat can sit underneath, swishing its tail and making threatening growls with its little throat. Put your bird feeder in the trees or next to a hedgerow so that the birds can dart in and out quickly without feeling exposed or threatened. Second, stop using pesticides. So I've just said birds eat and forage for insects, slugs, snails, berries, etc. They go on your rosebuds to pick your aphids. If you are routinely poisoning the things that birds eat, then they are not going to survive in your garden. You are basically just poisoning your birds. Thrushes, in fact, are in danger in the UK because obviously the hedgerows and everything are being ripped up at an alarming rate, but also because people are using slug pellets all over the place to poison slugs, which poison the birds. Let me tell you something. Poisoning slugs is a false economy. When I moved into my garden 8 years ago, the old man before me had lawn and a couple of shrubs and poisoned everything, and the whole garden was awash with slugs. I couldn't even walk from my back door to my garage without standing all over slugs and snails everywhere. It was disgusting. They used to climb around the door frames, and that's because there weren't any birds. The birds were poisoned or they'd moved out. Once the birds started coming back when I went organic, the slug and snail population rapidly decreased. The benefits of an organic and biodiverse garden should never be underestimated. I maintain a healthy bird population by not using pesticides. Right, number 3, fresh water. Of course, like any other living creature on the planet, birds need fresh water, especially if you don't have a pond. And sometimes, even if you do have a pond, you need to put out dishes of fresh water, especially on icy days when the water is frozen over, but also on hot days when other sources of water, such as ponds, streams, and ditches, dry out. Make sure the water is regularly changed and refreshed to avoid diseases. Birds need fresh water to clean themselves off and to drink, just like every other living creature on the planet. 4, plant range. Back to food again. Some birds are plant specific. So if you want to attract a particular type of bird into your garden, you may have to do some research on what plants they prefer. Many birds like specific berries or seeds, so finding out which ones they like and then making a concerted effort to grow those specific plants will certainly go a long way to attracting birds into your garden. And obviously birds of a different variety. Number 5, shelter. Birds need shelter from strong winds and rain and from the excesses of summer and winter. They need shade in the heat of the day and warmth and protection from sharp winds, snow and ice in winter. That means growing plants and trees that can provide these qualities. Plants with tightly knitted branches and twigs that are preferably evergreen will provide a great habitat for year-round shelter for birds. Choose native hedgerow plants depending on your own local area, and plant them hedges instead of fences or next to fences. And so this gives your birds a lovely habitat to hide and shelter in all year round, and soon you will see an increase in your bird population. Number 6, similarly related, habitat variety. If you've ever paid attention to birds in nature or in your garden, you will notice that they need a variety of different habitats to operate safely in nature, and that includes in your garden. They use treetops to sing and communicate with each other. Which includes finding their romantic partners for making more birds, and discussing when the coast is clear. Yes, they do that. They talk to each other and discuss when the coast is clear, or they will make sounds if they see the cat approaching. They use the treetops to signal to each other and talk to each other.
I think I'm going to have to move you, Poppy, because I think you might be stressing them out. Come on, darling. Let's go.
They use the mid layer, so that would be your hedgerow layer if you have one. The tight hedges and branches, they use these for safe pathways around your garden and for launching fledglings, so the little baby birds will launch from lower areas such as the hedges rather than the treetops, and then they can hide in those branches while they summon up the courage. You will see them doing it. Mine love it in my little box tree. It's mid-level, the branches are tight, it's evergreen, and you will often see fledglings in there thinking, okay, I'm going to go for it. And then they launch, and then they haven't got far to hop back up if they just haven't quite got the strength in their wings yet. So they need mid-range hedges for birds. And then the final layer they need is overgrowth. So in those hedges, between the fences and around the back edges of your garden, let it all overgrow. Let the brambles grow a little bit behind and things like this, because this gives the birds safe shelter when they are foraging for those insects and dropped berries on the ground below. They will hide in those leaves, and the overgrowth will shield them from the eyes of the cat and the dog, but also provide an obstacle for, say for instance, the cat launches at a bird on the ground. The brambles and the overgrowth will provide an obstacle, buying the bird just enough time to get away from the predator. So while we're talking about predators, number 7, cats. The subject of cats and birds drives me crazy. There is so much irrational and deranged talk that demonizes cats as the general enemy of all birds on the planet, and it's just not true. Our cats are not threatening bird populations, not one tiny little bit compared to human activity. Just in my area alone, hundreds, if not thousands, of acres of land and all the associated trees, grasses, overgrowth, hedgerows are being ripped up to make more housing. For who, I have no idea, because none of these houses even seem to be selling. It is depressing and really soul destroying to see this never ending march to concrete over the entire planet. So let's just stop blaming your innocent Moggy who may catch 2 or 3 birds a year. If you do have a cat and you don't want it to be a threat to your bird population, I do, then there are things you can in fact do, such as keep the cat in at night. Cats really obviously like hunting at night, and that's when the birds and babies are really vulnerable. But it's also when your cat is more vulnerable to being killed on the roads and by other predators. So just keep your cat in at night. I do keep my cat in at night. Also, Pay attention to your birds and keep your cat in when there are fledglings in the garden. So I have a general idea where I see my birds pairing up, and then I can hear when they're feeding the baby birds. The sound of the baby birds gives me an idea where in my garden there is a nest with babies in. This gives me an idea then when those babies are going to be fledgling and whereabouts they are in the garden when they're learning to fly. During these periods, I'm able to keep my cat indoors. Baby birds only need 1 to 2 days to become strong enough to fly and be completely independent. Well, not completely independent, but to fly and therefore not be in danger from your cat. So it's not a long time to just keep your cat indoors. You can also pay attention to the parent birds who will squawk and clamour if they see your cat anywhere near their babies. So I can be in my kitchen or even upstairs in my bedroom, and I know the sound now of when the birds are distressed, and I know it's going to be my cat, and I know that means there's a fledgling on the ground, and I can rush outside and just get my cat in and lock her up. And she gets really cross, but I'll give her a treat, so she's fine. She'll just go and lie on the bed in the sunshine and she'll forget about it. And don't forget, it's not just cats that chase dogs. I have 2 terriers. They love nothing more than bouncing around, chasing birds. My dogs have never caught a bird, but if you want birds to feel safe when they're free feeding or nesting, then you need to make sure that they have spaces where they can do all that without being bothered by a yappy terrier or an over enthusiastic puppy. Overall, your pets are not the problem. I think we all need to start pointing that arrow at human activity and not the poor birds. And by the way, I have way more birds in my garden now, even with a cat, than I have when I moved in, which just goes to show organic and biodiverse practices really, really work and contribute significantly to bird populations more than ever, more than your cat can actually harm it. And then just to finish off, make sure you have bird-friendly glass, of course, because they can kill themselves instantly by flying into a window. So provide something that may cause a reflection or something that dangles just to distract the birds and just make them fly away. And the other thing is be patient, because if you are having to establish some shrubs and hedgerows, by the way, you don't need a whole hedge. You could just have a hawthorn bush or some box shrubs like me, and maybe one little cherry tree or something like that. All these different layers will really help contribute to your bird population. Don't be too sanitary in your garden. If you're too sanitary, the birds will have nowhere to hide and nowhere to forage safely for insects. And of course, don't poison your garden, because then you're just going to poison the bird food and therefore your birds. Right, I hope this helped. I hope you all have lovely, lovely lots of birds in your garden, because we've just got to start in our own small way saving the planet. We can't seem to stop the role of the concrete being laid everywhere. But if we all add together our gardens and make them organic and biodiverse, we can at least save something of this earth. Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye. Just before you click off this video, I would like to bring to your attention a little known book that I wrote called Robert the Lonely. I suspect many of my viewers are parents or grandparents and are most likely as worried as I was about your child going online. So you may be interested to hear that Robert the Lonely is not just a regular children's book. It's an old-fashioned style, illustrated, cautionary tale, but it's set obviously in the modern world. Robert the Lonely has loads of relatable characters that your children will relate to, that go on the internet and engage in communications with strangers. It's a spooky tale, it's fun, and it has a cautionary ending. So your kids will enjoy reading the book while also learning a valuable life lesson about the dangers on the internet. And if you're still worried about them going on the internet, and let's face it, that's a whack-a-mole thing we can't stop, because even if we don't let them have devices, they will have them at their friends when they sleep over or have play dates. So at the back of the book, there's a questionnaire that you can go through with your child, and that will help you gauge your child's understanding of the themes and the problems and the issues in the story, and it will also teach your children some valuable tools to handle stranger danger online. So if all that sounds like something that would interest you, the link is in the description underneath this video. Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye.